What's up, guys? Bo Mueller, Be Detailed. Back again with another video. So, this is going to be another oldie, something that I've had edited, filmed a while ago. Just never got around to actually doing the voiceover because I don't know, I just got lazy. But I'm here now, so we're doing the voiceover, and yeah, so this is a Chevy Colorado. I can't remember what year it was. Obviously, you see the color. It's kind of like a bronzish orange, I think. And we've already sanded this down. 1500, 3000. I'm just going straight for the buff. Running that small Milwaukee with the Oberk Thundercut pads. Absolutely get you some if you haven't, man. They're beast. They're beast. I love them. And I appreciate that I can get them in smaller sizes, 5 and 6, and just rip and go to town, man. There's just something about them that feels and works really nicely. I've fallen in love with these pads, man. I really have. Davey P is the man. So right now I'm just hitting any of the smaller spots or anything that I know my 8-inch, well, actually I think it's a 7.5-inch wool pad, and I'm going to pull out later on, I know it's going to struggle with. Right now, I think it looks like I'm using either M105 or M110. My guess is going to be M110. But we're using M110 to cut through these scratches. Am I a fan of M110? It's okay. I have my opinions about it, but, it'll do the job. It'll do the job. If it's me, I prefer M100 for sure. I think this was me before I actually got my hands on M100. I remember, I got curious because I was like, I've used M105 and I hated M105 the first time I ever used it. And this was like way back when I was still using DAs, Porter cable. I still use DAs, but this is back when I was using the Porter cable with the orange foam pad, and just didn't really understand much about, compounding. Like, I was still just very much a beginner. So I remember, like, the first time I fucking used it, it just like stuck to the paint, like just wouldn't wipe off. It was just incredibly difficult to work with. And I just couldn't figure it out. And I was just like, I need my ultimate compound back. I need like my consumer grade. You buff it, it looks shiny, it doesn't give you any fucking headaches. Like M105 was not it, man. I heard some people use it, they loved it, and they got great results. So I went for it and just regretted it. And I held on to that bottle probably for about a year or so. And then eventually when I finally started learning how to use the Rotary, I said, well, fuck, I got a heavy cut compound here. I hear the cut on this is gangster as fuck, so you know what? I'll grab it and I'll start ripping with it. And that's kind of what I did. Just started practicing with the Rotary, and for some reason, man, M105 just fucking loved the Rotary. I don't know what it was, man. I felt like it didn't dry out as fast. I felt like, I definitely had to use quite a bit of product to get it to work the way that I wanted it, the way that I liked for it to work. But once I figured that out for myself, based on the pads I was using and the speeds I was running, like, man, I liked M105, man. It was really nice to use. I have videos on my Instagram for any of you guys who follow me at Be Detailed Auto Detailing. I have videos of me using M105 to cut, and it's really nice. So, but coming back to M110, eventually, I got curious about M110. I heard M110 was just basically like it improved on all the problems that M105 had. So I said, okay, well, if I can get M105 even better, but it'll just have slightly less cut, let's try it out. And I tried it, and I didn't hate it. I did like it. I did like its cycle time in comparison. It definitely was nice. I definitely used a lot less product because of it. And there was definitely stuff I liked. It still cut great. There's no doubt about it. It's not too far off, but, it definitely doesn't have the same oomph as something like M100, which I then came to try out. One of the reasons I was afraid to try M100 is because I know M100 is a solvent-based compound, which basically means just the chemical makeup compared to the water makeup is greater. It is greater than the water makeup, and because it's solvent-based, it'll generate heat a little faster, and so you just have to be a little more careful with how you use it, and I wasn't really too confident and experienced in my skills to trust myself with using a solvent-based compound and a rotary on fresh paint. I was just scared. I just really wasn't like sure what would even happen. I thought like I would just blow through, because by the time I filmed this video, I'm still pretty amateur at this wet sanding, color sanding, buffing stuff as compared to some of the other videos you've seen me post on my YouTube. This is probably like, this footage is almost older than all of it. So M110 was, like the safer choice. Let me just try that. Let me see how it is. And when I finally got through that bottle, I said, man, why don't I go ahead and just fucking grab my balls and get some M100. I've seen some guys use it. Jason Kilmer, Jamie at JNG Auto Recon, and a couple other guys. And, like I said, just saw people use M100, and I was like, man, maybe I need to get on this M100 game, man. I find out what it's all about. And I used it, and boy, I would say M105 and it are pretty close in cut, in my opinion. But there's something about M100 that just feels like it has the edge, and I don't know what it is. And I actually really like the cycle time on it a lot. And in comparison, to something like M105. And at this time, Harbor Freight finally started carrying it. So I was like, fuck, man, it's cheap. It's cheaper than all the other compounds and it cuts fucking amazing. Like, this is a win. Like, I think I just found my new favorite compound. And I think currently it still is. My only other competitors right now would be Oberk Cut, Griot's Garage Fast Correcting Cream, and 3D ACA 510. ACA 510 is very, very close to being my winner. There's a whole video I could do on my experience with that so far. I really want to buy some more so I can just keep getting more time with it. Everybody that I work with at the body shop, they tried it and they're all like, dude, this is awesome. And at least everybody who buffs in our area, in our detail department. And it definitely left an impression on them, for sure. Oberk Cut and Fast Correcting Cream, I'd say they're pretty on par. They're pretty similar. Well, not Fast Correcting Cream. I had Correcting Cream, Boss Correcting Cream. And I really liked it a lot. I didn't want that compound to end. I just wanted it to keep pouring out of that 16-ounce bottle, man. Oberk Cut, obviously I love. I got to try it at Gloss University, and I wanted to get more of it, and I ordered more of it, and it's just awesome. I wish I could just buy gallons of it, honestly, because it feels great. I love the way that it just feels when I'm using it with the tool, and I don't have enough time to really explain like all the little things I love about it, but just from the little experience that I have had with Gloss University and the 8-ounce bottle that I got after, it's really nice. I could definitely see myself using more of it, especially in this kind of application where we're sanding and polishing. It's awesome. And so anyways, back to M100. So yeah, M110, really nice. I think it's really good for people who want a compound that cuts at a pretty high level but doesn't necessarily give a lot of issues. Like, M105 is not a compound I'd recommend to beginners personally, but that's just because my experience with it was absolutely terrible. So yeah, and I feel like it took me like a little bit of time to understand paint and polishing and all this stuff and understand what's really going on with the machines before I could start to utilize M105 the way that I wanted to. And that was mainly only because I just forced myself to say, I'm going to fucking learn how M105 works, and I'm going to get it down. And, yeah. But outside of that, I mean, I don't even know what I was saying. I just fucking love M105. I mean, well, I love it now, but would I pick it over M110? I'd probably pick it over M110 if I know I'm doing heavy cutting. Multi-purpose, I'm probably gonna go M110. But if I really want my heavy hitter, my favorite, it's probably gonna be M100 out of that lineup. So here we are going 7-inch big woolly mop. Yeah, I wish I could zoom in to see if it's M105 or M110, but I'm pretty sure it's M110. All right, so we're spreading our product around. What are we doing here? So we've done all the smaller spots. Any of the areas that... I've already buffed the fender with this rotary, by the way. I just didn't show the footage because, like, my ass is just basically in the camera. You guys don't need to see me bending over for you guys to polish a fender. It's just fucking weird, so we're just going to start at the door. I really, really love the 4-ply wool pads, the twisted wool pads. I got mine from Harbor Freight. The SM Arnold's, they're really nice. You can get Lake Country, you can get Buff and Shine. 4-ply twisted wool, man. There's steamed and there's unsteamed. We went over some of the differences of Glossy. I don't have them off the top of my head. I'd have to go and pull up a notebook, but I can definitely do a video explaining that one of these other days. But I'm pretty sure this is unsteamed wool here. Really nice stuff, man. Just it's aggressive. It cuts good. It cuts hard. And it bites, man. It bites. It clears out those sanding scratches so nicely. And it just sets you up for such a good finish. I mean, you're going to have halos. It's a given. But I'm not worried about those halos because I know that I'm coming behind with a DA and a microfiber pad to find it out. Now, somebody might ask, well, why not just use the microfiber pad to cut it out? It doesn't make sense. You're going to go and use a rotary with a wool pad, and then go microfiber when you could have just did microfiber and then go your foam and just be done in 2 steps instead of adding the third. Here's the thing. The reason why I like using the rotary first is because, one, the rotary is just incredibly smooth as a machine. You can take the most expensive DA and the cheapest rotary, and the rotary is just going to run smoother. Not because the rotary is inherently necessarily a better tool, it's just the way that tool moves. It's a circle, man. It glides across that panel with such finesse. And that's another thing I really like about the rotary is just the finesse you can have with that tool. It allows you to move across the panel with such power that you don't have to work yourself that hard. As opposed to if I'm using a DA and a microfiber pad, bro, I could sand this out to 5,000. And, like, we're still going to have some trouble, getting all the scratches out. I'm probably going to have to push hard, right? Probably have to push pretty hard with the DA. Move a little faster, work myself a little harder, which isn't the worst thing in the world. Like, you can definitely do it. And I wouldn't even necessarily advise people away from it if they're more inclined toward a DA. I know a couple people who just, they're fanboys for the DA. They are Rupes fanboys, and they love using it for everything. And that's totally fine. Me personally, going into the finesse thing, where I feel like a DA is going to fall short for me is, one, I don't want to work my tool that hard. I'm running like 1,000 RPM here maybe. And to be honest, I run my RPMs much higher now. I run it like almost 1,800 to 2,200 depending on the panel. Like on a panel like this, I think I don't know if it's aluminum or steel. I honestly can't remember. I didn't test to see if the magnet would stick or not. I call it a magnet test whenever I go to see if something's steel or aluminum or ferrous or non-ferrous metals, I should say. But before I veer off too far into another topic, I like rotary. I like rotary for its smoothness. I like it for its power, because I can crank that sucker up and I can get some serious cut going. And as long as I'm moving, I'm going to keep air flowing through the wool fibers. And as long as I'm watching my heat, I'm going to cut. I'm just going to blast through that sanding haze. I'm going to level that paint out. And I'm not going to be melting any scratches. So, and by melting scratches, I mean, like, just wasting away the plasticizers and the paint. swelling it up and not really leveling it down. I can get into all that in another video, but the idea is basically I can cut it low temperature, not generate a lot of heat, and be sure that I'm getting a true cut. What I see, like you could see the light in it. The halos aren't even that bad. Now, granted, we're pretty far away from it as far as the camera goes, but I mean, bro, I mean, it's even with it, we're still at a pretty good finish. I mean, you know, other than some wisps and halos, which the DA is going to take out real easy. I let the rotary do the work. I let the rotary be my heavy lifting tool so that when I come in with my microfiber and DA, I don't have to do that much. It's just downhill. I let my rotary do the heavy lifting because I want the machine to work. I don't want to work the machine. Now, again, it's good to know how to use the DA, I guess, to remove sanding scratches, but I just wouldn't prefer it. And so for me, I prefer the rotary. For those reasons, I could really get far and deep into that, but I've only got I've got a good bit of time left in this video. I guess we could ramble a little bit, but yeah, for those reasons, I like rotary more for this first cutting stage. And then I'll use the microfiber simply just to refine it out. And then let's say maybe there are some leftover sand scratches. If they're really if I miss the area real bad, I'll just pull the rotary back out, cut it down real fast, and then continue my mid-step. But yeah, I like using the DA for my mid-step and my final step. I want to take out my halos real fast, real efficient. Use the offset of the DA to basically get rid of the defect that is left by the rotary, and it's still a finer defect. And then after the microfiber leaves, typically it's micro marring, I'll just come back in with a foam pad and finish it down, and you're pretty much good to go from there. Anyways, where was I gonna go with that? That was another thing I was gonna bring up. So DA has an offset, right? And one of the things about finesse that I want to talk about is when I'm using a rotary, I have a really easy time getting up. I'm getting pretty close to this door handle, and I'm working all along the edges of the door. I can get very, very precise with where I'm using my tool, with where I'm moving it, and where I'm directing that cut. DAs have two working zones. If you ever used a DA, especially a long throw, you know that there's the 6-inch area where the rotation's going on, but you also know there's the offset. And if you look, I almost want to show you guys a clip of this, but it's if you watch the offset, you can almost see where the backing plate's spinning, and then you can almost see where the offset's happening way out. There's not much work going on there. So if you're doing edge work and you got that giant offset going on, if you're getting close to an edge or you're getting close to a door handle, it's very tricky, especially if you're using something like the Rupes 5-inch backing plate where there's not really much of a flange out. You're gonna nick something probably. You're gonna get up under something and you're gonna have that offset, just going. And all of a sudden, you're just going to hear it. And you're going to look, and it's going to pop. You're going to see that you popped something, and you took the paint off. Or, you left a pretty big bang, Anyone who's nicked paint knows what I'm talking about. I've nicked paint before with a DA. It's not fun, and it's definitely the lesson to let you know that it's not as good it's not that great for edge work, but that's just one thing. The other thing is, again, back to the inefficient, efficient working zones. You got the DA is very good at its center. Where it's inefficient at is where that offset is going, and all the way out at the edge of the pad, you're not getting much work done. So with the rotary, from the center of the pad all the way out to the edge of the pad, and actually I would say toward outward of the outermost edge of the pad, that's where you're getting the most cut. Where the DA is the total opposite. All your action's happening in the center. and it's not much really going on outside the edge. I learned this pretty hard when I was polishing and sanding, and I tried doing it with the Rupes, and I struggled a lot in those kinds of areas, and I have to go over them 3, 4, 5 times to get them precisely. Whereas, like, you know, a guy could take a rotary and he can buzz that area down, cut through the edge work real fast with like an 8-inch pad. But just because he knew how to tilt and finesse that tool, he was able to access areas that I, with a DA, with a smaller pad by 2 inches, running a 6-inch pad, I couldn't get to. You know, just simply because those two working zones. You have the center where it's much more efficient and it's working. And you do this next time. Have a light where you're working and watch your footprint, where the footprint is happening as you move the tool, and then watch where the offset is going. So see the compound trail that you're leaving, and then see how much further that offset is past the compound trail you're leaving. And you'll see what I'm talking about with the outermost edge of that offset is not doing anything. And if you're trying to line that up with an edge, it's not going to work. You're going to have to go way over and almost put the center of your pad along that edge. But the problem is that might be good if you're alongside like a flat door like this. But again, when you're getting up to door handles or areas that are a little more curved, a little more tricky, especially with some of the ways that these panels being carved out, you're going to constantly have to jump down to like 3-inch, 2-inch DAs to get the job done. And that's not necessarily wrong, but again, you're constantly having to kind of swap tools. Whereas like I would just rather stick with my one tool and get as much as I can done, and then, you know, bring out my 3-inch if I need it. Right? I'm not saying it's wrong to have a 3-inch. You should have a 3-inch. I think it's a lot of advantages to it. But the idea is just basically, hey, the rotary allows me to get as much as I can done with one tool off that first cut, and then I can just use my DA to kind of refine everything out. DA for refinement, rotary for cut. That's just personally my method. That's just me explaining my method and kind of my thought process behind it. You don't have to do it. I'm not gonna impose that on anybody. You know, run it how you run it, but that's just my mindset behind why I like to do it that way. I haven't been talking too much about what I'm doing here. I mean, it's just we're just rotary cutting. We're just rotary cutting. It's continuing to go. We got about like 2 minutes left on this. So what could I say to end this off? See, I just ramble. This one was definitely much more of a ramble, but you know, I don't mind that. You know, hopefully you guys let me know in the comments, man. What do you guys think about the voiceovers versus real-time footage? Just let me know. I'm very curious. I would like to know what you guys think, what you guys want to see. If you guys like both, to see if you guys like both of them, or if you're leaning more towards, you know, voiceovers, or you're leaning more towards real time. You know, I definitely would massively appreciate that, just so I have a better understanding of what it is you guys are deriving value off of, and that I'm able to consistently bring in and deliver for you guys to keep this content engaging for you guys, because I don't want to just post this and nobody likes it. So, and of course, hopefully I can explain things and express things in these videos that, you know, you guys find valuable, useful, helpful, things for you guys to think about. And yeah, with that, man, I'll just let the video finish out. We're just gonna keep rotary cutting, mopping it up. I don't think I have any DA footage here, but yeah, I wish I had a final result that I could show you guys, man, because I remember this turned out pretty nicely. This project took me a minute on my side. The other guy on the other side, shout out to Colin, he finished it pretty quick. Yeah, I took a minute, but anyways, yeah, I think that's it. We're finishing off. Thank you guys for watching, and hopefully see you guys in the next video. Peace.